Alright, I wanted to do like a bit that I usually do like for the introductions, but I couldn't think of anything except trying to Google Translate to
Fucking
Chinese.
what?
So it's kind of just going to be a normal hello and welcome to No Highway Option. It's a cinema podcast where we answer the one question that applies to every film. Is it better or worse than Vin Diesel's 2005 masterpiece, The Pacifier? I'm one of your hosts, Connor.
And I'm your other host, Luke, Anteater.
Anteater?
I did it. They were anteaters, man. That was the thing.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
Right.
And we have a special guest today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jessica Suriano, and I'm a friend of Luke since we were like 10. And I'm excited to be a part of your podcast, guys. This is so cool.
Great. And our movie this week, given to us by JT, is still unfortunately not Max Keeple's big move. He was thinking about giving us that, and that would have been so much easier to talk about. It's a 2017 Chinese animated movie called Da Hu Fa, also known as The Guardian.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that tracks.
Yeah, I did do a little research. Did you know Da Hu Fa is the name of the character who they called Fatty the entire movie?
I didn't realize that until after, when I was doing some research too. I was like looking at this other YouTuber's review about it, and he talked about how it means like the guardian or the great guardian or like the great upkeeper of the law, and he like went into it a little bit, and I was like, oh, that tracks with like what he's doing, and he's like super focused on what his job is based on, you know, his principles, and he's clearly like, that's his whole personality. You know, like right there, like, I'm doing my job. It's the law. Gotta find the prince. That's my name. Fatty.
Yeah,
You know?
I didn't catch that until the very end. So every note I call him Fatty.
I don't know. I think it's different. I think I wrote something different every time. I really because he shows up and you're like, what is this thing? Is this the heel of a foot? Is this a fat big toe? Is this a cheese triangle with a face?
I thought of like Little Red Riding Hood, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very much like a fruit gusher with a sticker of a man's face on it.
Some animator is gonna someone's gonna send this to him and they're gonna be like, what the fuck, dude?
We hate these people. The people who work at Nice Boat Animation. That was just one of the studios. I'm like, that's a name.
Yeah,
it was really funny, poised against other stuff.
Yeah, apparently it was really hard to get this out. Like they had to, it was really hard for them to, one of this other YouTuber guys talked about it, how there was all these other production companies had to get together and do it, and they couldn't really get it off the ground for a while. And yeah, that's why there's like a whole bunch of different companies, I think.
Okay,
that's cool.
Well, it's cool that they came together for it, and some of the stuff you can tell that they put a lot of work into it. The opening, I think it's the opening credits, and the entire backgrounds are all these like beautiful watercolors. So that was definitely worth looking at.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
They were gorgeous. So let's jump into the analysis of it. We're introduced to the Fatty, who, as we said, is actually the Guardian, and he looks like this little red triangle man with a staff, and he's trying to find the prince who has run away.
What is that thing? It's a gun?
It's a way for him to like channel lightning or like laser magic.
Maybe? Yeah.
So he's like Azula.
Yeah, so this whole time, right from the get-go, I'm like, all right, so what's this universe? Like, what are the species? What's the species situation, you know? Because, it kind of reminded me of, a Hayao Miyazaki film where you just have to, go with whatever. Yeah, just follow me.
Yeah, this is happening. Don't ask questions.
Yeah, it's, and you're like, I couldn't tell who was a human and who wasn't. And at first, I thought that what are they called? The peanut people. I thought they were humans too. It was just a different representation of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
They mentioned something right after they introduce the peanut people, and we are saying peanut people for those who don't know what it is. It's a whole thing in this movie.
I would be
Where
interested to see if that is like something that is like just adjacent as a translation.
they do. Yeah, I'm not
Because
exactly
they
sure.
reference
They
like
say
they're
something
the
about
peanut
dead
people and there's the
spirits.
big peanut in the sky.
Hmm.
Like
And it
their hive
felt
mother.
like, yeah, it
Yeah.
felt like maybe peanut was the closest thing
And
linguistically.
I
Maybe.
guess maybe. And calling them peanut people made it just more distracting to me because wasn't that the plot of the Proud Family movie? The guy wanted to like populate the world with mutant peanut people.
I don't
I
know.
don't remember.
I
Okay.
missed
I
that
so
one.
vaguely remember that movie, but now I want to go back and check it out.
Something about peanut people is part of that, I swear.
I think like they did a lot of food stuff. Like they were calling the fatty another thing too.
Oh yeah, he looked like
Like
a winter melon.
yeah, and they were like gonna
Yeah.
kick
Hmm.
ass at. They ate it up. That one guy that's
Everyone was
fasting.
all in on the winter melon
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, they were like, oh yeah, that resonates with me. I see
So the
it.
peanut people, as we're talking about, they do mention maybe that they might be departed spirits, or like Fatty thinks they are, but they're
Hmm.
these creepy looking gangly things with big heads that
That
bleed
look like ping pong balls.
and they bleed either purple or green.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was blue, I thought.
anything but red.
Blue, purple,
Okay.
green.
I saw blue, purple, green, and
It's like the
then I wrote
dress.
spooky after that.
And at first it seems like they don't talk and they seem to kill their own if they look slightly different. We find out it's because it's a disease they call ghost mushrooms.
Mhm.
And if someone has ghost mushrooms, they have to be killed on sight.
Mhm.
They don't seem like good beings. Fatty also has a little pet cotton ball who can fly.
That's a puffle, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was really neat how at the beginning I didn't really trust them and I was like really wary of them because like immediately you want to identify with Fatty.
Mhm.
And you're like and you're like, all right, so we're obviously with this guy, he's the protagonist and we're gonna go
Right.
find the prince with him. So anything getting in his way, you're like, I don't know.
Bad
They're
guy
pretty spooky
immediately.
looking. Yeah. And then exactly. And then as the movie goes as the like plot develops and you kind of get to see the other side of it, you realize, oh, and then it kind of, I don't know, it's almost like you got to check yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm. The
Yeah.
Like
story
you
is
fell for
all
it
over the.
too,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I was not ready for it.
Yeah, when grandma gets talking about,
Oh boy.
about what's really, like, that whole thing, I don't know if this is jumping too far into the future, but when she just like starts, here's the whole background,
Mm-hmm.
here's what it is, and you're just like, what?
Yeah, we'll get to that, but that'll. I was my JT who recommended this. I was talking to him afterwards, and he says apparently people think this is or say this is a big criticism of the Chinese government, and that's why it's been so popular.
Ah.
Which, like, I think I
That would
get.
also explain why it was so hard to produce.
Yeah.
Right. So I got into that after because I'm really into that stuff. And like there was, so you see all these tones of like there's obviously an authoritarian government situation and there's no free speech and no free thought and all this propaganda and
Mm-hmm.
we're in China and it's now and then you're thinking, you know, you're thinking of the 50s and then I refreshed myself on their current leader. His name is I
Winnie
had
the
it
Pooh.
G. Yeah, Winnie the Pooh,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was like, oh, this is like directly talking to, oh my God, I can't believe I can't. Xi Jing.
Is it Xi Ping?
Xi Jing. I feel so silly now that I don't have it. Hold on. Xi Jinping. Boom. So he's their leader now. And I think that the uncle guy is a representation of him. And
Mm-hmm.
and China has, and he's like really undone some things that have tried to like protect China
Right.
post Mao. you know, like
Right.
term limits, like he's getting rid of those, and he's like really suppressing speech. And I was like, that's super relevant, you know, when that was happening in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually at the point where we're introduced to Uncle Jai-an and his niece, who we never get the name of. And I just called this dude Obelisk Man because his head's kind of like just a big pointy obelisk with one red eye.
Our first introduction of this triangle man, he murders a family in front of their child, and then we just move on.
Like,
yeah, he is.
Like, the sad kid is like, "What the fuck?" And then it's over.
Oh yeah, because they start French kissing in his garden. He's like,
Yeah,
nope.
with their hummingbird tongues.
Here.
All of the peanut people have hummingbird tongues.
Yeah, I like how they gave us that detail. Like, here's what inside their mouth looks like. You know, thank you for that.
Yeah, we know this is what the audience needs.
Important detail.
So Jayan develops and raises the peanut people, and he claims to be their god. So they all have to worship him and follow him and do everything for him. And he ends up having them harvested when they grow old for rocks in their head that I guess are their brains, called like witch rocks, which they don't really explain what they do.
I think the little kid explains it, right?
Yeah, they're like fuel and power, aren't they? Or like that's what their use of it is. But there's
okay, I must have missed that part, but
there's a point where the kid's like he tries to offer it to the emperor, like they're like he's like showing him around their house, and he's like, and he pulls out this box of them, and he's like, you drop this in a village as well, and you will mess that town up. And he's like, you can use this and just destroy anybody. Have a box. And he's like, what the fuck? And he like doesn't want any part of it. This little kid's just like, you know, maybe representing being okay with whatever the status quo is, even if it's fucked up. And you're just like, what do you mean that's weird? I'm offering you
this is all I know.
Right.
I mean, that's how children are sometimes. Just like, this is what everyone says the power is, and I say, okay, sure.
Right.
As long as I'm not getting hurt.
Yeah.
Speaking of the emperor, we meet the emperor now, or not the emperor, the prince. We meet the prince now. He wants to paint hills and just paint anything.
Does he want to paint hills, or does he want to paint naked ladies?
Well, yeah, we find out afterwards that he's allowed to come home. If he comes home, he will be allowed to paint the palace maids. And he's like, well, sure, great. I hate that they sent Fatty after me, but like, ladies.
Like, that's way better than this mountain.
Yeah.
Something I didn't notice until the trailer played afterwards, like while I was writing shit down. And they showed that shot of his painting again, and he's painting the hill as a naked lady.
I didn't notice that. Oh,
That's
so
yeah. I like kind of thought it like he puts a little thing on the top of the mountain, or the hill, and the kid Xiao Ming is like, there's nothing up there, and he's like, oh, but there will be something there eventually. I'm like, that's really close to like nipple placement what you just did there, buddy.
Oh right, because they show him going back in with like the darker color. He's like, nope.
Yeah, that's what that was.
Okay. I didn't write it down because I was like, is that gross? I don't want to think that that's gross, but thank you for confirming that.
Is it just me?
Right.
Along with the emperor and his little friend Xiao Ming, we also have Zhao Jiang, who is a peanut person who has a little ribbon around him, and we follow him a lot more later. Peanut people also have flying flower reconnaissance bugs that rattle like snakes and live in their heads.
Right.
It's creative. I'll give it that.
They were like really on a peanut people are connected spiritually, and they can do all of these things, and your uncle guy is suppressing them, and he's like mining them for this material, but I don't know, maybe this is just me going off, but like they can do so much more, and this connection they have to the land seemed like something as well.
They're like avatars almost,
I was about to be like, is it like James Cameron's Avatar?
right? There's like two Avatar things going on here, where like they're like Cameron's Avatar, and Fatty is like Nickelodeon's Avatar, where he has this power of electricity. You know, there's like a lot of Avatar going on in the subtext.
One of each. We have the Prince and Fatty, while trying to get Zhajiang, fall into an ant monkey hole. And we get the most universal of jokes. Guy gets hit in the nuts.
Yeah.
Every
so
language
funny.
that's funny.
I love how they took like a really big moment for that. He got like a whole minute scene. I think I wrote down what he said. He said, "I am pain, the pain is me." And they gave him like his whole thing, and I was like, wow.
After this, Fatty and Prince get separated again, and Fatty eventually meets Mao Mao, who is this
crazy fucking knife man.
absolutely
Classic
insane,
sociopath.
motivational, ideal obsessed knife assassin who wants to learn his family's move of one strike, taking out someone's heart with a knife.
His whole family clan is the same thing that the evil queen based the whole beginning of her life on in Once Upon a Time.
Sure.
Like the whole first probably 2 seasons of that show is this clan's
just ripping out
motto. That's her thing. It's just one fell swoop, pulling out a heart, crushing it into dust.
And Mao Mao gets to practice by basically being a peanut person butcher. And with that, he gets the Black Witch Rock for Jian. And everything just keeps on moving. We meet a creepy child peanut person who just stares at people and has a pinwheel.
Right.
Oh, also, the people have these fake eyes and fake lips that they wear. They're like little pieces
all their
of
features are like stick-on tattoos that you buy.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat.
I thought that was interesting, like, just to have the whites of the eyes, and because most of the time they look like just, things with just eye holes and a mouth hole.
Right, and it's like a non-human, not like no animal you've ever seen's mouth hole. It's like a cardboard box almost. It's like
cardboard box is actually
you know what
really
I mean?
good.
Right, and like you can almost think, and there's a point, and this is jumping ahead again, where they're, and I don't know if you guys want me to not do that.
No, you can do whatever you want.
Right. So like, I mean, the whole thing's a big spoiler anyway, right? So what's it matter? So when they like rip them off, and they're almost kind of like saying, I'm done with the game, like buying into this thing where I need to look a certain way and be a certain way, and huzzah, let's all take off our eye stickers and our mouth stickers, and it was this big like revolutionary moment, almost.
Yeah.
Well, especially the taking off of the mouth stickers is like, we will not be silent, and like the eyes, we will not be blind.
Heavy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they all start talking, and you realize they can talk, and it's not just that one.
It's
the
not
friend
just
of the, what's his name?
Granny,
the one with
and
the red ribbon. Zhao Jing. And you think he's the only one who can talk, and he's special. And then you realize all of them can talk, and when they take that off, and they all start revolting.
Fatty and Xiao Ming end up finding the prince, just chilling, eating some sugarcane.
Yeah, just eating sugarcane loose. Is that a thing?
It's really enrages.
I guess that's.
Oh yeah, Fatty's
Fatty.
pissed
like,
about it.
Fuck. He's like really unimpressed. So funny.
I don't know. I thought it was celery at first, or like a green onion, but
Then it said sugarcane.
just
Have you guys
chewing
ever
some
chewed on
sugar cane and then spitting it
No.
out?
It's pretty good. It's like a weird sweet. It's like a really simple sweet. It's like, but kind of chewy. You do have to chew it and like, you're not really supposed to swallow it, I guess. And you see him spitting it out. But I guess you got to think like in the universe. That's like grade A candy, man. He's chewing on sugar cane, like he's got his feet up, and he's like, "Get away from me! I'm chilling here."
Yeah.
And he's got peanuts guarding him on all sides with their guns.
Trap.
But then in comes Obelisk Man to kill the peanuts. Or, if you want to be crude about it, every action scene in this movie is about busting some nuts.
Oh. Yeah, I thought whenever there was like a killing, there was usually like this moment of total tranquility, lots of like atmospheric music, like you're saying, those watercolor paintings, everything's really, still almost, and then there's like this, it's like this piercing shot, and it really like jars you and like throws you off every time they do it. Every time they just slaughter someone, you're like, it didn't stop taking me back throughout the movie, and I thought they did a good job with that.
I didn't like that they had guns in this movie. I feel like it took me out of the fantasy stuff with it, and I was just like, oh, these are like creatures that I don't know, but it looks like they got bullets. I know what those are.
Right.
I think it got better for me when he lost his own. They look like mini golf putters.
It's like a cane.
Yeah. And when he lost his and he had to like craft his own.
Yeah.
And there was like more of was finding the energy to flow through it, and we were seeing more of that way. Like, I was more in it then than in the beginning.
With Fatty's shots, like they come out blue, so it looks like a laser. It doesn't look real, but like all the impacts from the peanut shots were all like bright orange. So I was like, that looks like how you would draw a bullet. I don't know. It was that was just a weird thing that took me out of it for a minute. But
are you saying like this is just enough technology right here? This is how much they have.
Yeah,
and
like
other guy controls
like oh, if a peanut man was in our world, like he would see a gun and be like, I know that.
Right, but maybe if this is a critique on the current political situation in China, they would have guns, and protesters do get shot in the head and lined up and shot. Like there's a scene where there's like a what's it called?
Firing squad thing.
A firing squad, yeah. And I was like, well, that does happen in China and does happen today, and maybe that's why they have guns, so that they can make that point.
That's actually a really good point.
It's a little darker than our usual fare.
Yeah,
listeners.
Really. Again, just want to remind you the alternate choice for this was Max Keeble's Big Move. So now, as the Obelisk Man chases Fatty, we get to have some Peanut People backstory, and were they eating like remains of old Peanut People?
Yeah, that's what the knife guy's cutting them up for.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
feed them back to him.
So the Peanut People eat peanut butter. We find out that
Jesus Christ.
With their
I really tried with a lot of these because I was like, I don't know how a discussion of this can be fun.
The only comic relief in this movie is the prince,
and he's only comic relief for 3 times maybe.
Yeah, and then he dies and
he is not
making jokes. Yeah, not cute anymore, not making jokes anymore. Yeah.
So this is the time where we get the Peanut People's backstory, delivered to us by Granny Vin. And
I had Yin.
Yin?
Or Granny.
Okay. Yin. I think I just wrote my Y weird.
No.
This is when I really started getting blown away with the story, when I was really getting into it,
It was really interesting to throw in the who's the real monster here storyline. We find out Xiao Jing has ghost mushrooms, but turns out ghost mushrooms aren't fatal and they aren't this terrible disease. They're just like wrinkles or liver spots or whatever. Like, just means you're
Right.
old.
Right.
Take them
Can we
off, you
go
have
over
some
the life
scars.
cycle of this species real quick? So like according to Granny, she like shows him this nursery, this like matrix style nursery
Mhm.
where there's this one room, and then it's actually kind of almost like that Aldous Huxley book, Brave New World, where like you've got like people being born in test tubes and separated and stuff, and it kind of reminded me of that in like a spooky dystopia way.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and then they're ant monkeys, and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
like
those little
the next thing,
pink men, but they're
like yeah,
anteaters.
right. And then
Right.
but she pulls open like a bucket of them, and they're like
Yeah.
floating in water, and you're like, what's going on there, you know? And then,
Yeah. So
and that's food for when they're older.
yeah, so throughout this we see just
think so.
these little orangey pink guys named ant monkeys, and we see the peanut creatures eat them, like just because
Yeah.
that's their food, that's their meat, whatever. But during all of this, we find out that Granny Yin has known that Uncle Jayan breeds the peanut people, but they're not all pure peanut people. A lot of them are like mutated ant monkeys.
Well, they all grow from the ant monkey, but he's trying to get the like scab thing. That when they mature, they do the mushrooming thing, and that's
Mhm.
where the stones come from. And then he cuts those off and then kills them afterwards because he only wants the stones. So he's told them that that's like their sickness. So that's what the ant people believe. So the ant people eat they're all ant people, but they don't really know it. They're
Right.
eating the other ones.
And they all let you know. They're all told to let you know when one of them is right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Because they
like
think it's like they're sick and now you got to go.
Right. And you show that propaganda on them, working on them, and then that almost reminds me of like 1950s communist China New Revolution thing where you're like, this guy's not part of it, this guy's not part of it,
right.
This guy, you know, and you're selling people out, and then they get murdered by proxy.
Yeah, there's a lot
Cute
going
movie.
on. The giant floating peanut is also the mother of all peanuts, and she's stuck in the sky because the oil lamps that are being burnt keep her stuck up there.
This part I didn't totally understand with the oil.
Well, it looked like it made like it had encased her in some kind of black oil thing.
Yeah, I think like the soot made some kind of
and that's what
like
she's
thing
breaking
around her.
off at the end.
Another Fire Nation thing.
She's like, there's a point where she's like, at the very end, like she's smashing herself into the rock, and then there's this thing, and I totally forgot about the smoke thing until then.
There's a lot of this that like introduces an idea and then it's just like moving on. How about we do this now? And it's like, wait, go back. I want to know more about giant floating mother peanut.
Right?
Like, I don't think. Yeah, you were saying earlier how peanut might just have been the closest thing, like language wise. I think that's the case
what made me
because,
think
like the movie itself seems like it doesn't do anything with peanuts. And like the translator was just like, oh, the thing up there looks like a giant peanut, and they kind of look like peanuts themselves.
Right, and
I think it's something like that where it's not a peanut, and we know it's not a peanut, but there's nothing that I'm not sure whether they're speaking Mandarin. They're saying ni hao when they say hello, when they say hello.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if it's that or if it's not. But so I think that it just might be that kind of thing. And I don't know, like, I can't think of another comparable thing. Like, just you are obviously fluent in Spanish, so you might be able to think of a better example language-wise.
Well, like, sometimes you just call things because they look like things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, if something looks like a peanut, like, you call it a peanut. You know what I mean? and it's not necessarily like a close translation. They might literally have said peanut in Mandarin. I don't know. I don't speak Mandarin, but it's not necessarily like just because they're calling it a peanut doesn't necessarily mean that the translators made that choice. That could be
that's
the
fair.
speaker making that
Like
choice.
it could just be like a
because
slang like
they're
thing.
round in the head, you know, they got peanut looking.
That kind of adds something to it too. The whole like dehumanizing aspect of it. If he's just like these are peanut people, and that's what we're rolling with. I didn't think of it that way.
Right. There's a lot of that, what you're saying, of that dehumanizing in order to justify what's going on here. You know, like the nice guy who's the butcher basically for them. He loses his mind when he
finds out they can speak.
Right.
And like they're people. Like he's kind of racked with guilt, even though that was his whole goal, was to be able to take out someone's heart. This is around the time where Zhao Jiang talks to Jian. So Jian wants him dead, naturally, and he escapes and gets rid of his fake eyes and mouth and ends up finding Fatty after Fatty has an absolutely gorgeous nightmare sequence.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that was insanely good.
Like, I don't want to get stabbed in the ass, but like if I have to get stabbed in the ass, I would love to do it in Vincent Van Gogh's Starry, Starry Night.
Yeah, exactly. Zhao Jiang and Fatty end up becoming friends. Granny Yin has been rescued, so now Fatty goes to get Jian. Because of this and because of failure, Jian's niece, who we still never got a name, asks Obelisk Man to kill her, and he's like, nah.
Yeah, so I really didn't understand the girl's role in the whole plot.
It feels like she and the Obelisk Man are characters from a different movie, like this is a sequel or a cinematic universe to something almost.
I think they used her to set up the sequel. And that I could not find any other function for her the whole time.
Yeah, I guess.
He is at least chasing them around and like fighting them. I thought maybe she was going to be against something, or she was going to be part of the villain team, but she just was not.
Mm-hmm.
She was a sexy lamp.
Yeah, right. I think she just served that one like bathtub shot, and they're like, nailed it. Now we can check that box. Right. So we can put that in the trailer and get 10 times as many boys to come to this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that was the end of her character development. No.
Pretty much.
But like then she really lost me when she starts explaining herself, you know? Because she explains her relationship with the guy who's, you know, got just a red light coming out of his hood. You know?
The Triangle Man.
The Obelisk Man, Triangle Man, that's what we're calling him, right? I couldn't remember our
pretty much just anything plus man.
Right. He's like, she's like, talks about how she owes him her life, and then she's like, now that you're leaving, my life is worthless. And I was like, that was fast. That was a quick. She slid down that slide so fast.
Yeah.
She's like, kill me, and then we don't see if she gets killed or not, which I thought was neat.
Yeah.
Because he's pretty indifferent to murder at this point.
Yeah, so she's just out until that mid-credits scene.
Oh, there was a mid-credits scene?
Right.
Yeah.
I stuck around, and then I didn't.
I kind of stopped as soon as the credits started rolling, so you'll have to tell me about it.
But what happened in the mid-credits scene?
Well, do we want to
get to it when we get to it?
Do we want to go there?
Oh, sure, right on. Sorry, I'm getting, yeah.
We got to, it deals with the end, so I don't know if we want to get there.
Yeah, we can. So we find out that Zhao Ming is actually Jian's grandson, and he's like, and as we said, he's like, oh, status quo, peanut people aren't people, which was, I mean, it was bad, but at the same time, when we first were introduced to Zhao Ming, I wrote in my notes, like, something about this kid I don't trust. I don't know what it is, but I don't like him for some reason. And then when that happened, I was like, good. I have good instincts with children. I guess.
Yeah.
With not trust, when knowing not to trust children.
Yeah.
Fair.
Granny Ying and Xiao Jiang are convincing more of the peanut people to turn to their side, which is good. But then the peanut people are killing those who don't accept their past and like refuse to open their eyes, which is bad.
Not as good.
Right. Like this is I saw another person's commentary on this, and they were like, it's not like once they were told who they are and you know what's going on, they didn't like form a democracy and like figure it out and like make something civil. They started killing dissenters, just like dissenters were being killed 10 minutes ago.
Which was an interesting like are you better if you're not gonna take these lessons and be better? I thought that was an interesting thing that they did.
Right.
It's really explored in a sequel. I would watch a sequel to this movie.
I think I would too. Like, I'm invested in it enough.
I want to know how this turns out now.
Yeah. We get a quick line, I think, that when Jian tells Mao Mao that all the peanut people will die in the fall.
It's a harvest, right? They all reach maturity at that point, and now it's time to harvest the black stone in their head.
The little black rock stuff.
Yeah,
he really treats them like cattle.
Pretty
he
much.
Always talks about them like cattle. He like owns this village.
So like, does this make it a pure vegetarian movie? I guess.
If your diet was purely people, then this should get you off of that.
If you're a cannibal vegetarian.
I mean, but at the same time, like the Jian is just raising these peanut people and breeding them and then just taking them away when they're matured. Like, that's kind of how meat farming is.
That's an interesting parallel that I had not thought of.
But there's a lot to this that, like, I don't think a podcast comparing things to The Pacifier should be going into.
Perfect
right, because it makes you ask a lot of questions, and it like deliberately is asking those questions, like, what's a human? What are you? And you're like, you know, it's a pretty profound movie.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where we're still going to be thinking about it and talking about it later. Like, where we've talked about it now, there's more stuff that I thought about that I was watching it on my own.
I do hope that this episode gets people to find it on YouTube and watch it, because it's definitely worth a watch and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
As you can tell.
No, I really dug it. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm glad this is the one that I ended up with, because it's. I mean, I've seen Max Keebler's Big Move and I love it. One of my top 10 easily. But like, this was definitely more worth my hour and a half. Like, you know, I think I got more out of this, you know?
Yeah. We see the creepy peanut child. He's actually scared of everything, so he acts creepy on purpose, which it was a cute thing. It like showed that the peanut children are still children.
Right. There's that scene where he freaks out and he's like trying to put his eyes back on and hide it and
the prince
go back into the norm. That empathy where this dehumanization of them is kind of fading away, and you're realizing like, oh, these are like these are people, maybe capable of like innocence and friendship, as you see with the one who's friends with the prince, and dissent and love as the ones that are kissing in the garden, you know, and you get these little like splits of humanity throughout the movie, and then they become more frequent, and that's when you're like, these are people.
And pretty much right after that happens and Zhao Jing reunites with the prince and the friendship is all together. Meanwhile, Obelisk Man is hunting Fatty, and Fatty breaks 11 ribs, and he makes a big deal about counting all of his ribs.
He gets shot and falls down. He was counting. I thought he was dying. He was counting his breaths.
I thought he was like psyching himself up to stand up.
That's what I thought too.
I'm gonna stand up on 10, and then he's like 11. I was like, I don't know where we're going with this anymore. And he goes,
we're headed to.
But
Right.
well,
There was a
after
whole sequence before that was like, I wrote down like Call of Duty Magic Santa because he's running around and he's like, there's music playing and it was very much like it looked like a first-person shooter.
oh right, when
And then it ends with him
Fatty,
falling down the hill.
yeah, Fatty has his new staff and he like keeps throwing them out because they keep getting
Yeah.
broken because he's lasering too hard. Um, and he's wearing a fake beard because Jayan, when he pretends to be the god to the peanut people, he wears a fake beard. He's like, I am immortal, I am all powerful. So Fatty finds it and wears it, and he's like, this does make me feel more powerful. Like, I'll give him that.
Right. I thought there was going to be this whole like master of disguise moment where he was going to use the beard, but he kind of just put it on and fell down a cliff.
Yeah.
Right away. And so it didn't really come through there, but
Right after that, we see Mao Mao completely decapitate Zhao Jing.
Oh,
yeah.
This scene started out so different for me. The three most insane characters met up. Like, there had been pieces of comedy throughout them. And I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of a neat meeting. Like, we're back with that stupid guy who's talking about the morals, and the bad guys here, and also the prince. Who has a little, yeah. And then they murdered that kid, and my mouth dropped open, and it did not shut.
Yeah.
This was like the end of a Shakespearean tragedy. Like,
yeah,
pretty much,
everybody's
yeah.
fucking killing each other, you know?
Yeah, this climax does kind of quickly devolve into like short bursts of ultraviolence.
Yeah. Like,
Which, because Mao Mao decapitates Zhao Jing, and the prince is furious, and he keeps telling Mao Mao that he's going to kill him, but Fatty comes and saves the day and completely bisects Mao Mao.
yeah.
And Mao Mao actually ends up killing himself to prove that he can cut out a heart in one swoop, but it's his own. And I was just like, this needs to slow down for half a second, because like, my God.
Like, Fatty convinces him to cut out his own heart after he's chopped him in half.
Yeah, what kind of manipulation is that?
Yeah.
You know? Well, because and it's almost like empathy, because you realize he didn't get to
do his thing.
You know, he was trying to make his whole. He never got to make his dream come true, man. Of tearing out a heart in one fell swoop, and he's like, "You still can," and then he does it, and you're just like, there was every kind of murder here, like
there really was.
You know, and it was crazy.
And just when you think that's the end of everybody dying, Obelisk Man is here. And Jayan is like, oh, good, Obelisk Man. You stayed at my house for a while, it seems. Kill Fatty. And Obelisk Man kills Jayan.
Right.
So then Fatty yells at Obelisk Man, asking him why he kills and, like, who is he doing this for? Does he get pleasure out of it? You see Obelisk Man start crying out of his center eye. I think he only has one eye that he's crying out of.
Yeah.
And so Obelisk Man starts shooting at Fatty, and then Fatty just obliterates him.
He said the only time he speaks the whole time, unless maybe it's just me, I didn't see him speak.
No, I think it's the one time.
Obelisk Man, the only thing he says is like, "Mother, it's going to rain," and then immediately gets murdered. I don't know.
Yeah,
and I did not know what to do with that.
That's what makes me think there's more to some of these characters that we haven't seen or don't know where to find it.
Yeah, because so much of this movie made sense to me, and like the plots were connected, and then he just didn't. You know, his whole thing didn't. You know, it almost like didn't for me with what was going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I think we're heading hard for a sequel.
Right.
It's possible, man. This thing's only 3 years old.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal, because another thing that they did was in China, there's like, well, I think at the end of this, maybe we should get into this whole censorship discussion.
Mm.
that I'll put a pin and then save for the end. But there's like a lot of like, this movie's like a big deal in China and like outside of it.
We only really have one or two more things to talk about at the end, and then Luke has the mid-credit scene.
I can't believe that you guys didn't see it.
I gotta go back and watch it.
Yeah. We got the Great Mother Peanut revealing herself to also just be a large ant monkey type looking thing, it looks like. Then the prince takes Xiao Jing's Witchstone, which is bright blue.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
That was
It was like
that was a surprise.
I think that it was just like a purity thing. Like this was a kid who was just like struck down just with all this potential, and he hadn't like gotten hardened to the world. And I think that they were going for like that's, and this is just me spouting, I don't know for sure.
No,
but
I get that.
I think that they were going for like, this is what this is supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to be. This is what they're supposed to be putting out. They're just supposed to be these people that live off the land and work with the spirits, and there's supposed to be some purity to it.
Yeah, I dig it. I hadn't really. I that was another question for me, and I think that made.
That's a good explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the prince said that Xiao Jing wanted to see the world, so he's gonna take him around the world to see it.
Oh man, I was heartbroken.
Fatty's
he dies, and they show a flashback of him like meeting him for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
And Fatty's also in a full body cast.
Yeah,
He's
and you think they're both
like,
dead, you know, and then they're both okay at the end, and you're like, what?
Yeah, he's in a full body cast. He's like, I was supposed to protect you, but like, it looks like you can do fine. But like, I am your guardian. I am Da Hu Fa. And I'm like, oh, that's okay.
I missed the Da Hu Fa.
But that's largely the end of the film leading up to the credits. But Luke, what happened after the credits?
And then the credits start, and it's a lot like the beginning. We do the watercolor paintings. There's some nice lo-fi music. And then in the middle of it, it cuts to a scene where the lady, who was the uncle's niece, did we get her name?
No, we never did.
Just bathtub lady.
Yeah, bathtub lady.
Yeah.
She shows up in the field where everyone has died at the end, where the big standoff has happened, and she picks up Obelisk Man's leg, and there's like a color, like she's doing something, like a light is happening, and then it cuts to black.
Oh, so is she like a witch? Does she like magic?
I don't know. That's why I think they were really sequel baiting hard.
So like there's this whole thing about immortality too with this movie, where that blows my mind, because if she's literally resurrecting him from the dead, then maybe she does have the power of immortality, or at least giving it to somebody, where like the whole time her uncle's pretending to have immortality and like trying to put off that image that he's immortal when in reality he's not.
Yeah.
And there's a scene even when they're saying they're trying to kill the immortal, and I'm like, there it is. It's right there.
That's
you know?
kind
and
of
like,
and that's also how the peanut people like start revolting against him, is the like while he's making an announcement as like the immortal god, the people who are basically operating his fog machine blow too much smoke in Giant's face, and he starts coughing, and he's like, just keep it on the floor, keep it on the floor. What's wrong with you? You're stupid, you're brainless. And then Fatty's like, the immortal man coughs because of too much smoke? It's a little crazy, don't you think?
And then everyone kind of gets wise to it after that. And then his beard falls off, and he's like, huh. You know.
But that's that. That's Da Hu Fa, also known as the Guardian. Which
I think if they do a sequel, it could be interesting with, like you were saying, that the not immortality, but the idea of rebirth. We have like, I know that a lot of Eastern theology and stuff is focused around this idea of you don't just get this one shot, you're reborn into a different life, and that could be something.
That could be, yeah. Like, resurrection and reincarnation, and
yeah, I'm on board.
I don't know if I was initially, but after having this discussion and thinking about it more, I think I might be.
Mhm.
I feel that.
Yeah, I really got I got into this movie, and in the beginning it was kind of slow, and I was like, all right. And then once they started kind of getting into the tunnel, and then even the music changed, it started getting like dun, 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 dun. You have these like drum beats, and you were kind of getting excited. Now you're sort of on an adventure. You kind of understand enough about this universe and these characters and the main character that you're kind of more on board with it. And then it really picked up for me, and I really enjoyed like the last 2/3 of this movie. I was like really like wanting to know more, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to go over the criteria for this movie then?
Yeah.
The thing that's kind of breaking talk of, resurrection and reincarnation. Now let's
talk about Vin Diesel.
Yeah. First off, how's the soundtrack? I like the score. I think it was a good score.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was very solid.
It had a lot of like a kind of lo-fi feel to it.
Mm-hmm. That good action scoring, fast paced, fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought it always really matched the scenery. You know, if it was like this atmospheric, ambient, like Luke saying, lo-fi music, then you get these watercolor mountain scenes and this like peacefulness. And then when they're running through the caves, you get that more upbeat. Like I thought that the soundtrack really, I mean, its whole purpose is to keep you emotionally connected to what's going on. And I think this did a really good job of that. Like it was like, it's not like it told me how to feel, but it confirmed that what I was feeling, you know.
Right.
Right, you know.
Yeah, it helped you express it more.
Yeah.
Where does the main character land on the Dieselometer, rating other Vin Diesel performances? I put that Fatty, aka Dahufa, aka the Guardian, was very serious in a very odd world. So like I put it around the Chronicles of Riddick. Isn't that what those movies are about?
See, I started on Riddick. I was like, okay, the beginning of the movie, I was like, this is a weird world, and like he's here and he's fighting through it, and this is gonna be Riddick. And then by the end, I was really on this sits somewhere in the Triple X franchise.
Okay.
Because of the way Fatty interacts with the world and how he fights everything and how strong he is. But now, after talking about it and really looking at like the weight of it more, I am torn between the Triple X placing and Saving Private Ryan because of the weight of it.
Okay. And that's also a thing we forgot to mention. Every character thinks this world is weird. Like where they are for Fatty and for the Prince, they don't think this is normal. They're always like, what is this strange place? Everything's weird here. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder if that's a feeling that people have in China, where like they know like this is like, if you think about the like protests in Hong Kong and lots of places in China where people are getting together and being like, this is fucked up, we have rights, and then they're having those conflicts with the government and the police in all those cities. Maybe there is this general, something's not right here. Our speech is being suppressed here. Something's going on here. You know, and maybe there's that general, like, everyone's kind of aware of it. I don't know.
It's a good point.
I have no idea. I've never been to China, but
yeah,
you know, trying to figure out, you know, why they're doing that. Maybe it's.
Next up, we asked the question, did I like it as a kid or would I have liked it as a kid? As a child, I probably wouldn't have. The peanuts probably would have scared me and the violence, but like I would have really liked the backgrounds.
I think I would have liked this as a teenager, but I don't think as a kid I would have understood, or, you know, I don't think like you said, I don't think I could have taken the violence until I was like old enough to understand a little bit more. You know, what do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I'm torn, because when I was more into stuff in this style was when I was younger. I definitely was more like, I had a larger, not that this is really an anime style, but like that was when I liked more stuff in the anime vein, was when I was a kid. So part of me thinks that I would have, but I also don't think that I would have got any of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it would have been a base, like, this is cool, he's a good guy, bad guy, and like, so I don't know that I would have fully appreciated it.
Right, because it also makes you question, and there's a lot of deep questions. I feel like you have to be grown up to
Right.
understand
Mhm.
why they're asking them and the context.
Yeah, like how to actually question authority, but do it in a manner that doesn't make you the new worse authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What has the director gone on to do? This was directed by Jigon Yang under the name Busifan, and this is his only credit. So,
Well, I hope
so
he
far
does more
nothing.
cool stuff.
Maybe a sequel. Who knows? IMDb was very limited in its information for this. Was there anything as memorable as the Peter Panda dance?
So this made me like, you guys really made me get into Vin Diesel. There was like a lot of Vin Diesel homework for this, and I thought that was really funny. I was like, I had to go back and watch clips from The Pacifier to like answer these questions. when I watched the Peter Panda dance, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I watched it again when he uses it to like get through that, like there's like an obstacle course with like lasers and like other dangerous things. And he does it again, and I was like, wow, I don't think there's much that's more memorable than that. I think
Exactly.
I know why they're asking this question that way now.
I kind of just put like the designs of the peanut people, like they'll stick with me for a while.
Yeah, I'd say like the overall message of the thing is as memorable as the Peter Panda dance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just going to say there's a lot about this movie that's going to make me think later, because it asks you a lot of questions about like being okay with things and changing things and political dissent and I don't know, it's haunting, this movie.
Some of it's kind of very topical for what's going on in the US right now.
Sure. Yeah, like dehumanizing and people who are comfortable with the situation propagating the situation, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and on that note, who was the Brad Garrett silly side character of the film? Before the murder, I put Mau Mau, but then when he murdered him, I was like, I don't like that anymore, so it's the cotton ball.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. It's the fluffy bird.
Well, see, this was convenient for me because I had 3 running characters who were up for it, and then at the end they all showed up and murdered each other, so only one was left alive. So I go with the prince.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, he definitely like served that silliness character the whole movie. So yeah.
He do get hit in the nuts though.
That was so funny. And I don't even have nuts, so like I can only appreciate that to a limited extent. But that scene really, it was the I am pain, the pain is me. And that was like, this has never happened to me, but the way they describe it, it seems like this is a pretty accurate description of that moment.
Yeah.
One was my pain.
Fair enough.
And last but not least, is there anything as insane as the Sound of Music plotline from The Pacifier, which, in case you don't remember, it is a one-scene subplot in which the son is discovered at school with bleached hair and a Nazi armband in his locker, so Vin Diesel believes that he is a Nazi. So he follows him around the city and finds out he's just playing Rolf in a community theater production of The Sound of Music with a Liesel who's like 40.
Unreal. You know what? I'm going to go watch The Pacifier tonight. That's really what the end game, I think, is here.
It is worth it. I did realize, like, about a couple episodes.
It's a lighter fare, for sure.
I did realize a couple episodes into this, I was like, oh man, we're kind of assigning people to watch 2 movies, aren't we? That's a
and
little
I
much,
don't feel bad.
I do. For this one, the whole thing kind of is like not insane in that way. It was like, haha, this doesn't belong here. It's funny, but like just the plot line of censorship and authoritarianism and everything is just like it's crazy. It's good. but like, yeah.
I think there's some crazy imagery, you know, in order to bring you to that place. Like the way they almost made violence soft, you know, like it was interesting. Like anytime one of the peanut people got killed, there was almost this, because it was a different color or it was treated in a different way, there was like this normalization of this horrifying violent thing. And that's pretty bad shit. But I think that's their whole point, is people are normalizing murder, you know, and then it makes you ask a lot of big questions, you know.
I agree.
You guys.
All right. Last but not least, the ranking for this. Luke, do you have a ranking?
Oof. I did. I rated it 1 really well drawn naked lady hill and 2 jars of peanut butter.
Okay.
Seems a little in poor taste now.
Yeah, that's what I'd put, just like 3 almonds out of 5. I didn't like it as much as The Pacifier. It's still a very good movie, though.
Yeah. See, it's hard because it's so different.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the point. You know, I'm torn because I think the concepts and ideas that it addresses make it bigger than The Pacifier. So I would give it, I would give it more than it there. And then maybe it's on par execution wise.
Okay.
This is a great movie, and I really thought once it really picked up and you started to really see what was going on, it got really, really interesting. And I gotta rewatch The Pacifier tonight. So I guess if I ever come back on, I'll let you guys. I'll have a better way to compare things to The Pacifier.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that was our discussion on Dahu Fa, the Guardian. Thank you for being here, Jessica.
Yeah, it was a
And
blast.
I'm getting to it.
Oh, all right.
Now we're going to be playing the Coming Attractions game, where our guest has a film for us, and using a series of clues, we will try to guess what our next episode is about.
All right, I have some clues. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys some of the main characters. I mean some of the big actors in it. Okay, so this movie features Evan Rachel Wood, Alec Baldwin, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Kristen Chenoweth, all together in one movie. About
Is this a Cat in the Hat?
No, it's about a real person. It's based on a memoir about somebody from Northampton.
Oh, this is the thing where Alec Baldwin's an actor in it. And is it Notting Hill?
No.
But Alec Baldwin's an actor in it, right?
Yep. Alec Baldwin's in it, and he plays.
Oh, what's it called?
Well, it's not like enough information, I guess.
I got nothing.
I know what it is, but I can't think of the title.
It's like a really good movie.
Like Northampton, the place I am sitting currently.
Right. Like there's scenes like where you can see the Forbes Library that whose generous parking lot is hosting you right here and now. There's like scenes of Northampton and Amherst and like the bus. Like it's like really the film is cool for that, and that's why I'm picking it.
Is it a recent movie or is it an older movie?
It's like 1992, isn't it?
2003.
Oh wow.
So right 2 years before The Pacifier.
Yeah, right before. Oh God, I can't think of this title.
It's about a crazy psychologist or psychiatrist that I don't know how much I should get into the plot without spoiling. There's a crazy psychologist and a kid who falls into his custody, and he's like being raised in this Northampton batshit house. You guys are gonna have a lot of fun with this movie.
I give up. What is it?
Yeah, I got.
It's called Running with Scissors, and it's based off of a memoir of Augustine Burroughs. who writes a lot of stuff, and it's really interesting. But the book is even better than the movie, but the movie's really good, and it's got a lot of really like fun actors in it, and it's a really great movie, and you guys are really gonna enjoy it.
All right, I'm excited. Well, next week come back for Running with Scissors. Next week come back for Running with Scissors. And thanks. And that's it for this episode. Thank you again for being here, Jessica. And for No Highway Option, I've been Connor.
I've been Luke.
And as always, these have been our opinions. So if you didn't like them, too bad, because it's our way. No highway option.
No highway option.
I think your thing lagged.
Was I supposed to do that too?
So did yours.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens with the edit.
Thanks, guys. This was super fun.